Hey guys, good morning. Glad that you could join me today. We're taking a look at Psalm chapter 145. I've read over this morning and trying to find a little time in between doing school with Emma and just wrangling Eli, I would say. For those of you that don't know me, Emma's 6, she's in kindergarten, Eli's 2. We're trying to potty train during quarantine and do school. It's been a lot of fun. Was that convincing? It's been interesting. My wife Rachel and I are both still working, taking a day off here or there, and a big shout out to my parents for all the help that they've been during this time. In Psalm 145, we've got kind of the first 13 verses that talk about how the praises and the things that God has done were kind of passed down from generation to generation. And I take a lot out of that today while I'm home with my kids to make sure that we take the time to really be in our children's lives, to make sure that we continue to tell them about the things that God has done in our lives. I think about this whole coronavirus quarantine thing. It may be a little cliche, but to talk about how God has delivered us through this, how God has given us opportunities through this to do things a little differently, and how it's changed our perspectives. And so when I read through these first verses in Psalm 145, I think about how we can pass that down to our next generation and tell them about what God has done in this situation and in others. And it's kind of documented here that it was a passing down of stories from generation to generation about all the things that God has done for His people. I find it kind of interesting because this is all pre-Christ coming and being born. And so the things that you're thinking of are not necessarily like Jesus' miracles that we had just talked about in John, but these are, God delivering the Israelites out of Egypt, and God being faithful, and stories like Joseph. All of those types of things all of those stories are what are being passed down from generation to generation. And I think even those Bible stories are important, that we make sure that our kids know those, and that they can learn from those and see God working. Starting in verse 14 and then really through the end of the chapter, there's a lot of promises in here, promises from God, and they're written into these psalms as items of praise. And I just kind of pulled out all of the, I hate to go English teacher on you, but I pulled out all the verbs that are describing God. Verbs are action words, in case you don't remember. And so starting with verse 14, it says that He gives, He satisfies, He fulfills, He watches, He hears, He saves, He endures, and He is near to us. Near to us, kind of a stretch. But I just kind of picked up all those actions, all those verbs, and went, okay, in all of these situations, we've got instances where God will take care of us. Whether He's giving us what He needs, He's satisfying those needs, He's fulfilling, He's watching over us, He's hearing us, He saves us, He endures, and He's always near to us. Verse 17, I wrote down the whole thing. And if you guys, as you're reading through this, if you're not taking some kind of notes, I'd encourage you to do that, because I've kind of, in some of this, flipped back through what we walked through in John, and remembered some of it. I tend to remember more of what I wrote down, so if you guys haven't gotten some kind of notebook and taken some notes, I'd encourage you to do that. But anyway, I wrote down Psalm 145:17, and this is one that I think I I may try to memorize or at least keep coming back to it. Verse 17 says, "The Lord is righteous in all his ways and faithful in all he does." If you get anything out of this devotion today, get this. Psalm 145:17. "The Lord is righteous in all his ways and faithful in all he does." Again, back to all those things. He gives, he satisfies, he fulfills, he watches over us, he hears us, he saves us, he endures, and he is near to us. So no matter what your situation is that you're going through right now, or whatever comes up in the coming days, in the future, just remember all of those promises and give thanks for all the things that he does for us, because God is truly faithful in all situations. I love you guys so much. I thank you for watching. I thank you for participating in these devotions, kind of pulling us all together even though we're apart. I hope that you have a great day and stay safe.